LDS Conference, the church held its 183rd annual General Conference this weekend, and leaders say a new temple is on its way to Utah.
FAA delay. Provo Airport's control tower was supposed to shut down this weekend, but instead got an extension.
And Korean crisis. South Korea aims its missiles towards the north as tensions heat up in the Far East. I'm Kristen Firmage.
And I'm Karen Sullivan. It's Monday, April 8th, and in Utah, it's 12 o'clock.
From KBYU and the BYU Department of Communications. This is the award-winning 11 News at noon.
The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints concluded its General Conference this weekend. We have 11 News reporter John Hansen in the newsroom. John, what made this conference stand out?
Karen, Temple Square welcomed visitors from all walks of life, and the conference was filled with new callings, historic firsts, and plenty of spiritual uplifting to go around. Nearly 100,000 members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints came from all over the world to Salt Lake City for the 189th Annual General Conference. Those present got to witness firsthand something that has never happened before. Jean A. Stevens, second counselor in the General Primary Presidency, became the first woman ever to pray at conference. But they didn't stop there. Carol M. Stevens became the second woman to pray on Sunday afternoon. Female members watching said that seeing these women pray offered them a new hope and reassurance.
We were able to see it, we were able to watch it and feel it, and I feel like when women have an opportunity to pray in public, just the same as men, that makes us all equal, and I appreciate that.
Church leaders also announced a new young women presidency. They called Bonnie Oscarson as president and Carol McConkey and Evelyn Marriott to be her counselors. When it came to the speakers, those watching said the messages were powerful and an inspiration to follow the commandments.
Well, actually, this being the first time that I've come to one of these conferences, I really enjoyed it. I think the issues that were discussed during this conference really spoke to me.
I liked all of it.
With gay marriage debates happening all over the country, church leaders delivered messages to reaffirm their stance on the sanctity of marriage.
Jesus taught that God created male and female, and that a man should leave his parents and cleave to his wife.
President Dieter F. Uchtdorf was also a real crowd pleaser when he spoke on the hope of God's light.
There may be some among you who feel darkness encroaching upon you. You may feel burdened by worry, fear, or doubt. To you and to all of us, I repeat a wonderful and certain truth. God's light is real.
My family and I, we prayed about some things that we wanted answered, and I felt like President Uchtdorf was there to answer those things that we had in our mind and in our hearts.
President Thomas S. Monson closed the conference, prompting members to love one another and obey all laws and commandments.
I admonish you to be good citizens of the nations in which you live and good neighbors in your communities, reaching out to those of other faiths as well as to our own. May we be tolerant as well as kind and loving to those who do not share our beliefs and our standards.
Now, in addition to all of the talks, President Monson also announced that since the lowering of the mission age, the number of missionaries currently serving in the field has increased to nearly 67,000. Live in the newsroom, John Hansen, 11 News.
The church is certainly growing. Thanks, John.
One thing Utahns definitely remember about General Conference, President Monson announced that we are getting a new temple. 11 News reporter Allie Monson was there for the news. Allie, tell us where this temple is going to be.
Kristen, people in this city say they've been waiting a long time for this to happen. The church is building a new temple in Cedar City, Utah.
It is my privilege this morning to announce 2 additional temples, which in coming months and years will be built in the following locations: Cedar City, Utah, and Rio de Janeiro, Brazil.
Some say they heard an audible gasp from the crowd when the prophet made that announcement Saturday morning.
I was dancing in my seat.
And people watching from Cedar City say they were doing the same thing from home. The Allen family took a road trip from down south up to Salt Lake. They were excited about going to conference, but after hearing their town would be getting a temple, they said the trip was definitely worth it.
To have the temple this close, I think, is an affirmation that the Lord hears prayers and answers prayers.
Right now, the closest temple to Cedar City is the St. George Temple, which takes about an hour to drive to.
Mom will go to the temple and while Dad's watching the kids, and then we'll switch, and so it's a really long day.
About 28,000 people live in Cedar City, and 8,000 of those people are Southern Utah University students.
I'm a professor at Southern Utah University, and I think there are so many wards there who would benefit from regular attendance of the temple and to strengthen their marriage.
And the spiritual aspect of the temple is not the only blessing the Allens say the temple will bring.
A few years ago, Cedar City really was impacted financially in a negative way. The temple will allow not only spiritual growth to happen, but also financial growth for Cedar City.
The Cedar City Temple makes 17 in the state. As you can see, Southern Utah is one area that doesn't have a lot of temples. Since the announcement, the news has been trending all over Twitter. People in Cedar City are anxious to find out exactly when and where the church will build this temple. Kristen?
The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints announced a new mission leadership council that now includes elder and sister missionary leaders. The sister training leaders will oversee the training and welfare of the sister missionaries and report directly to the mission president. The changes will take effect in each mission as soon as the mission presidents see fit.
The church's oldest general authority in history passed away last week. Elder Eldred G. Smith died at the age of 106, making him not only the church's longest-lived general authority, but also the oldest man in Utah. Elder Smith became an emeritus church patriarch in 1979. He gave over 18,000 blessings around the world during his 32-year run. When 11 News at Noon returns. North Korean nukes. Kim Jong-un could be testing his missiles as early as this week, and South Korea prepares.
And the Iron Lady dies. Margaret Thatcher passed away this morning after a life of political leadership. Stay with us. A man police say killed his 5-month-old baby is in Utah County Jail without the possibility of bail. 21-year-old Joshua Peterson appeared in court today for the first time. Investigators say Peterson shot his son with a .22 caliber rifle. He then attempted to shoot himself, but a family member stopped him. Peterson will be in court again on April 15th. 2 teenage boys are in police custody in connection with the death of a man in eastern Utah. Police found 33-year-old Gregorio Salazar Campos's body on the outskirts of Moab. Grand County Sheriff Stephen White says his sister reported him missing on March 29th after he did not show up to work. Police are still investigating the case and have not released the names of the teenage boys in custody.
Salt Lake City is going green with its short-distance bike sharing program. The city launched Green Bike this morning in an attempt to reduce vehicle emissions. This photo shows a similar program in Denver, Colorado. People in Salt Lake City can check out a Green Bike to make quick trips up to 30 minutes at a time and as many times as they want. Riders pay $5 for a day pass, $15 for a weekly pass, and $75 for an annual pass. The Federal Aviation Administration says it will delay closing control towers at several small airports. Provo and Ogden's towers are among 147 others scheduled to close due to government budget cuts. The FAA says closures were scheduled to start Sunday, but now will not happen until mid-June. In the meantime, the administration will sort through legal issues.
North Korea readies their missiles for a nuclear test. A car bomb kills more than a dozen in Syria, and a former British Prime Minister, Margaret Thatcher, dies. Here's your look at news from around the world. Tensions continue to rise on the Korean peninsula. These missile defense batteries on the Osan Air Force Base in Seoul, South Korea, are at the ready in response to several North Korean missile threats. Authorities say the North is still years away from having an operational missile, but officials say their conventional weapons do pose a threat to surrounding countries. At least 15 people are dead and dozens more injured in the Syrian city of Damascus after authorities say a car bomb exploded. The blast happened in a large public square near a school. Authorities say a terrorist suicide bomber is responsible for the explosion. The United Nations says more than 70,000 people have died in Syrian war violence since 2011. And the first female prime minister of Great Britain died today. Margaret Thatcher was the leader of the Conservative Party from 1975 to 1990, serving as prime minister for 11 of those years. The Soviet press nicknamed her the Iron Lady for her personal and political strength. Thatcher passed away after suffering a stroke. She was 87 years old. And that's your look at news.
Well, little did you know, our weather pattern is back in the month of February for Utah. We have cold weather, dramatic weather for the next couple of days. Be prepared. It is low-lying clouds in Utah as we wake up this morning. The roads are wet. It's been raining all morning across the state, and that's going to continue as the storm system hits all of Utah. 43 degrees in Provo right now, 81% humidity, so it's also foggy outside, and 24-mile-an-hour winds at the Provo airport. That's not as bad in the city, but those winds are going to pick up as this storm moves through northern and southern Utah. As we go to the satellite map, you see what's happened. This is what's happened in the last 24 hours. This is right now. That's a lot of blue, and that's a lot of rain. You can see it's going to move right past us, but then we have another storm system swirling that's going to move in towards the middle of the week. We should have maybe one day of dry weather, but for now, it's rain and maybe even some snow. Around the state, there's specific things that are happening. The biggest thing you need to be aware of is that we have wind advisories all across the state. We will see some record winds, but we will see some record winds this week as we try to prepare for this storm. We'll also see some snow on the tops of the mountains. There'll be accumulation of 6 feet to 1 foot in the northern Wasatch Front, and in southern Utah, we might even see 1 to 2 feet of snow on the top of the mountains. Highs in Utah are going to be low this time of year. We're seeing 40s and 50s in Utah. 70s is not the way it's going to be in southern Utah. We're just seeing cold weather as it moves in that wind. They'll see some rain later. In the highs, this is exactly what I was just saying, 50s, and then not very warm in St. George in southern Utah where they usually see this. This is definitely going to be a storm that's going to hit pretty hard. This evening in Provo in northern Utah, we're going to drop down to about 44 degrees. We'll see some wind, we'll see some snow, maybe not some in the morning though. I don't expect there to see, 35 is our low tonight. Snow showers overnight. We should not have any accumulation by the morning. And then in southern Utah, they might see some snow, but really it's probably just going to be rain all through southern Utah, 44 degrees. This is where they'll see a lot of those winds and a possible thunderstorm in southern Utah. 5-day in southern Utah will be not nearly as dramatic as northern Utah. We'll see some rain on Monday, and then it should drop by the rest of the week and warm up. Friday, 79 degrees. That's going to be a pretty nice high. Northern Utah's got a little more of that dramatic storm moving in. They'll see rain Monday and Tuesday, 53 degrees, 47 on Tuesday. We'll see some clouds on Thursday, and it should dry out and get a little nicer by Friday, 59 degrees. But hey, this is April in Utah. We see some pretty dramatic weather moving in.
We do, and I guess we'll just look forward to Wednesday getting the sun back.
Exactly.
Thanks, Brenna.
All right, Danny, how is the weather going to be affecting sports?
You know, Brenna is right. Spring in Utah, April in Utah, you never know what you're going to get. And it has been messing up things for sports. Baseball and softball in the rain isn't very fun. Next on sports, softball split. The struggling BYU softball team battled in 2 doubleheaders against the crosstown rival Wolverines. And Golden State Mint. The Jazz conquered the Warriors on the road to keep their playoff hopes alive. Sports is next. Stay tuned. After splitting 2 games with UVU on Friday, the BYU softball team took the field for another doubleheader against the Wolverines on Saturday. The Cougars dropped the first game 3-2, but then Katie Manuma took the mound with a chance to split the series. Fast forward to the top of the 10th, game tied at 2. Carly Duckworth on second. Katie Manuma goes right back up the middle. UVU's shortstop picked it up for the out, but Duckworth came in to score and put the Cougars up by 1. That would be enough, and they took the final game of the series 3-2. I was going to show you some BYU baseball highlights. They were set to face Washington State at 10 this morning, but as you can see, the rain has put a real damper on things. Today's game is canceled and will not be rescheduled. The team plays Utah tomorrow at 6. The men's volleyball team ended its 12-game winning streak with a loss to number 3 UCLA on Saturday. But the Bruins were a little late to play spoilers. BYU clinched the MPSF regular season title the day before with a win at number 7 UC Santa Barbara. It took them 5 sets, but with help from Ben Patch and Taylor Sander, they eventually pulled ahead to win their first conference title since 2004. The women's volleyball team also had a big victory this weekend during an off-season match against our best buddies up north. The game gave us a preview of what we have to look forward to when the season starts, and it gave us an excuse to watch Utah lose at something. Tambry Haddock and Jennifer Hansen both ended in double figures for kills. Hansen also contributed 6 blocks. The teams were neck and neck through the matches, coming to a tie 12 times during the third set, but the Cougs came out on top with a 3-1 victory in the Smith Fieldhouse. Brandon Davies is the man here at BYU, but this weekend he had the chance to try his hand in the Division I College All-Star Game. Davies helped lead his team to sweep victory in Georgia. Davies put 12 points on the board, grabbed 9 rebounds, and had 4 assists for the East. Here he is trying out the long ball, but that one's off the mark. Late in the second, he goes up for the block and comes down with a foul. But that game was over at that point. The East team takes the victory, 87-81 at the Georgia Dome. With just 4 games left in the regular season and nothing decided yet for the Western Conference playoffs, the Jazz needed to make a statement at Golden State. And that's just what they did. Gordon Hayward set the pace, opening the game with a 3, but it wasn't long before the Warriors answered. This game was all about making the big shots, considering Golden State is the best three-point shooting team in the league, and Utah had their work cut out for them. Mo Williams closed both halves with trays, clinching the 97-90 win that will help them hopefully continue into the postseason. That win made it 7 of Utah's last 8 games, and with the Lakers' loss to the Clippers last night, the Jazz have squeezed their way into the playoff picture, a half a game above LA. If it comes down to a tie between the Lakers and the Jazz, Utah has the edge in the tiebreaker with a 2-1 season series win. That's a little rough for me. I have been a lifelong Lakers fan, and I know I'm living in,
Utah's Jazz territory.
You're not the only one. There's plenty of people in Utah rooting for the Lakers. Thanks, Danny.
Thanks, Danny. Still to come on 11 News at noon. Touching touchdown. A young football fan with cancer gets his shot at Gridiron Glory. We'll be right back.
It's a dream come true for a 7-year-old boy battling brain cancer. During the University of Nebraska spring football game, the team touched a boy's life as he ran down the field to score a touchdown. Reporter Brandy Peterson has his story.
So Taylor gets the shotgun set, gives it to Jack. Here he goes.
Coach Bo Pelini's surprise call that brought Husker Nation to its feet. 7-year-old Jack Hoffman runs in a 69-yard touchdown in front of 60,000 screaming fans, including his friend and idol, former Husker Rex Burkhead.
I told him congratulations. I told him look good. I told him he needs to be a new running back here.
Burkhead met Jack in 2011. The two quickly became friends, and Jack became one of the team's biggest inspirations, a little boy battling brain cancer. Saturday, Jack moved from the sidelines onto the field.
Oh, it's awesome. I mean, Jack, he's a fighter. He's a strong kid. And just see him, get out here, run around, enjoy the Husker experience. It's a dream come true, especially for kids growing up in the state of Nebraska. And for Jack to get out here and do it, I know it made his day.
And his dad's. Andy Hoffman spearheaded Team Jack to raise money and awareness for kids everywhere fighting brain cancer. Saturday was all about his son.
It was pretty special. I mean, it was very special. And, I told Coach and all these coaches, they've given Jack so many once-in-a-lifetime opportunities. And to just have another one of those once-in-a-lifetime opportunities, I think, speaks volumes about Coach Pelini and the kind of program that he has and just really what he's all about as a person.
Jack's moment will go down in history. He was Nebraska's leading rusher for the day.
Way to go, buddy.
It felt awesome.
A game these players and coaches will never forget.
It puts it all in perspective what the game's really all about. And it is a game. That's why they call it a game. And it's great for our players to see that there is something bigger than this.
I think that's awesome. Must have been so exhilarating for him to run with all those fans cheering him on.
He was just busting it down that field. That was awesome.
Like your guys' dream. Maybe I'm weird. I just would love to do that.
Could be your dream.
What a great experience for such a tough kid.
What if he wins his battle with cancer and grows up to be some big athlete someday? Isn't that just going to be amazing?
That would be beautiful. That's 11 News at noon for Monday, April 8th.
You can join us anytime on our website, 11news.byu.edu.
Thanks for watching. Have a great afternoon.